You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Moline, the co-author of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I'll be sitting down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. As always, please follow, share, comment wherever you are. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe. If you're on a podcast network, subscribe, comment, leave a review. And if you want to continue the conversation beyond what you're hearing here, go to Facebook, type in Roofing Success, and join the Roofing Success Facebook group. Great to have another conversation with another successful roofing contractor. One that I've known for a while. And he's out in the Maryland, Virginia, what is it, the DMV?
I call it the DMV. Some people
the
call it
DMV,
Greater Maryland, Northern Virginia, and Washington, D.C.
Yeah, Greater Washington, D.C. area, and has a couple of locations of his roofing company, and is definitely someone that through my conversations with him, I've always been impressed by the systems and processes and things that he's done to grow his business. And that's Ben Matthews with Brax Roofing. How you doing today, man?
Great. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. So, for our audience, tell them a little bit about how you got into roofing and how you started Brax. Yeah,
absolutely. So, the prison that I was locked up in had like a felony program. No, I'm just kidding. It's
nice.
So my family's been in roofing in some capacity or another for quite a while, on the wholesale side of things. So got out of college, was kind of trying to figure out what exactly to do with myself. And they said, hey, look, go stick me in a warehouse on a forklift and kind of, throw shingles on the trucks and everything. So I did that for about a year, worked my way through the company for a little bit, and did like counter outdoor sales. And the next step really is like, are you going to really run a branch? Like, where do you want to go with this? Is the supply side of things. So great business. I like everyone there. We still have a very good, close relationship with everyone. I mean, my parents, brother-in-laws, brothers, good friends, the whole family's over there. So, it's still a good relationship. But at that point it was, hey, I really want to, try to start my own business. I wasn't really looking to start a roofing company per se, but I always thought it'd be fascinating to start a business, just be able to structure something the way you want to structure it, build something and do that. So went to go work for one of my clients at the time, which was a really interesting experience. And after a couple of years there, you kind of realize, hey, look, roofing's somewhat of a niche industry. It's a fairly low barrier to entry. And we're not reinventing the wheel here, but there's a lot of things I think we could have done a little differently, more efficiently, kind of just to be a little bit more present in the market. And one thing led to another. I do have a business partner. We were working together at the time, and we just looked at each other and said, hey, look, I think we can do this. Let's do it. And one thing led to another, and here we are.
Nice. What year was that?
2014.
2014.
Like
so 6-7 years into the business.
Yeah.
And
well, actually, I should say 2015. I think we incorporated in December 6th of 2014.
Okay.
Just so we could get that 2014 on there. But if I'm going to be honest, it's like 2015.
So how was it when you guys started? Was it just you two out there hustling, selling, doing all the management of the jobs, things like that?
Absolutely. And that's one thing that was kind of appealing about the roofing business, or just home improvement in general. You don't need a lot of capital. It can help, but we worked out of my basement. I sold like a used car for like $4,000, and just started knocking on doors. Really, it was an experience. Like kind of didn't know, hair's on fire, don't really know what's going on, knocking on doors, trying to close jobs, and before you know it, you just kind of do networking and grow and reinvest every dollar. I remember when business cards were, I think it was like $50 for a pack of business cards, and we looked at each other like, what are we going to do? Like, how are we going to do this?
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
I think you got, I would say don't jump into like test the depth of the river with 2 feet. But in this case, we definitely just jumped in the deep end and we're like, we're going to make it or we're not. I think I lived off credit cards for like 10 months or something like that, you know? And my significant other's like, what are you going to do if this doesn't work out? I'm like, I don't really have that much to lose, you know, like we'll figure it out. So yeah, we did that for a while, kept reinvesting, one thing led to another, and then slowly you organically build. And it's been quite the adventure ever since.
Yeah, that's really an entrepreneurial trait in people when they're willing to put their credit cards on the line, right? Like, man, I got 20 grand in credit cards. Let's go to work.
I was also somewhat lucky because I agree with that. I think you have to be really like, you can't hold back. Like you gotta, you're going to do it, you know?
Yeah.
And you really at your core need to believe and know that. And also like not just know and believe, but like give it that much effort, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't have kids, so that was one easy thing for me. I mean, there's really, you know, I could eat Pringles for a year if I have to, but
yeah.
So we were just trying to make it work. One of us has a family, one of us didn't. So we were trying to kind of make the bills work with keeping everyone happy and still trying to grow the business. Significant others were hugely supportive, but at some point it's like, hey, you know, like you got to bring home the bacon, you know?
We got to get some bills paid. You got to pay some of this credit card debt down now.
Yeah.
So what was that? So it was just you two in the beginning, and then what was who was your first hire and why?
Yeah, so we had a good friend we knew from the industry that was in sales, been in sales, and you know, started in car sales, I think when he was like 15, and got into roofing and just been doing it ever since. And he came up to us and actually wanted to join with us, kind of wanted to come on board as a sales team. I think it was just appealing. He knew us both individually, and he thought it was kind of fun, a new company. You know, he could kind of help structure the sales the way he wanted to. So it was kind of a mutual. He came to us and we sat down, talked to him, and he came on board, and it worked out pretty well for 2 years. And then we parted ways, but it was a good experience.
Nice. So first person was a salesperson, and it was kind of by chance because they came to you, right?
Actually, I take that back. I do take that back. The first person we hired was like an office admin.
Okay. Office admin. Yep.
And that was my first foray, or our first foray into like hiring an employee, and it was nuts. It was a crazy experience, and I think she was with us for like 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
And then the second one, it was a lot better. But yeah, we kind of looked at each other now, and we're like, "Is this how it's going to be? Because this is crazy, you know?"
Yeah, that's not good employee retention there for your first try. That's
a whole story for a different podcast, a different day. But we learned a lot on that first one, and they've all gone a lot smoother.
Yeah. Yep. So what did you learn on that first one? What was the why did they last 4 days?
Yeah, I think one of the problems is we just really needed to have help. We were starting to grow a little bit, spending a little bit more money on marketing. The phones were ringing in between production, sales, marketing, free time, building the business, trying to just, you know, get everything going. It was just too much to be both of us at the office all the time. So we really just kind of grabbed the first person that seemed like they had experience. And we probably should have done a little bit more due diligence and really thought it out. But you know, ignorance is bliss. You don't really know exactly what you're looking for, what the position is. You're trying to kind of figure all that out. So it was interesting. Nothing bad happened, but 4 days later, the police were at the office, and it was just like nuts.
Oh,
like, it was yeah, that ended, and then we kind of started to like, hey, if we're going to do this, we really need to kind of like do a little bit more research, look at some more people.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of good people out there, but just make sure it's the right fit. We have the right structures in place, the right resources for them to do their job, and everything like that. So that was a wake-up call there.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of times early on, that's what you do. You hire someone, you hire almost the first person that applies, right? Like, oh, we'll just get them in the door, or you have someone in mind and you're like, oh, all right, we could get them to do this. And then you learn from there, right? And you had mentioned defining jobs a lot more, and roles and job duties. And, you know, there's a lot more to it when you put some time and thought into it. But there's a point in your business where sometimes you just need someone to do something to help you out, right? And
yeah, 100%. A lot of it's like roofing. It's not, for the most part, it's not the most educated business. You know, it's you kind of may go see. It's a little bit of trial and error, but it worked out.
Yeah, yeah. So who was your first key? I'll call him a key employee. Who was like the first person that you hired? What position did you hire that was like, okay, this is gonna take a lot off of our plate, off of the owner's plate?
Yeah, so our philosophy is kind of there's probably a better way to explain this, but kind of like Navy SEAL style. Like we don't need 100 employees. We'd rather have like a small team that are like really good at what they do, and we can execute at a high level. And that's kind of what the philosophy was back then as we were figuring it out. But it's definitely something that I think we want to continue with. We rather everyone, be compensated, happy, and work really well together, rather than have a lot. So it was probably a couple years after that, but we hired Danielle, who's our general manager. That really everyone was key like up until then, but that was the first part where we could really have someone that knew the business. Was really good with people, knew like the production, the sales, some marketing and all that. And she was able to kind of really help kind of be like a right-hand man for both of us and kind of bring everything together and glue it all together while we could focus on the business. So I would say that's definitely the first one where it was really kind of a game changer as far as, hey, we can step back now and really focus on other things rather than having to like kind of micromanage or manage people a little bit more.
Yeah.
Which was huge.
That's awesome. So when you were doing it, were you doing sales and your business partner was running like the production operations side? Is that how you guys split your time in the beginning?
Yeah, somewhat. So at first, we were both, just trying to like sell whatever we could, grab whatever we could, do marketing. And then it kind of evolved a little bit where Boris, business partner, he kind of took on more of a production side and was still selling. And then I was doing kind of more of the marketing, sales and internal stuff. Now the way we would kind of like to have it is, just really focusing on bringing in projects and hiring the right people for the right positions. Yeah. But yeah, you wear a lot of hats, as you probably know, so.
You do. Starting a business, you wear all the hats, right? We use this system, the EOS system and entrepreneur operational system in our business. Mm-hmm. And one of the first exercises that you do is you draw an organizational chart, but mm-hmm. not of who you have in your company, of all the positions that you'll need in your company. And then
I've drawn many.
Right. And then you write the names, and then you write your name and all of the, who's doing those roles at this time. Mm-hmm. And in the beginning, it's amazing to see how many seats you are in. Right. And then there's, then you could gradually transition out of that, over time. So you handled more of the sales and marketing side of things, it sounds like. So what were some of the most effective marketing strategies that worked for you early on?
Yeah, so I think from the get-go, and not that we started this and we were like game changers or anything like that. There's obviously a lot of successful companies in our market, but the first thing is we knew like, hey, if we're going to be successful, there's a lot of different ways to go to market, especially in roofing. You can be a storm chaser, door knockers, canvassing teams online, but we just wanted a very like kind of like inbound presence, like a website. We really wanted to be very visible, kind of, create a highway to the front door, if you will, and let people find us and go from there. So building out a website was the first thing. I think the first one we built out, I did myself. It was horrendous. Like I wish I still had like a screenshot of it, and then we slowly kind of started working on that, reinvesting, Google ad spends, things of that nature. And really a lot of trial and error. I mean, it's the same thing. With marketing, we try a lot of different things. We always give it at least like a 6-month horizon just to see if it kind of plays out. But like, every door direct mail, canvassing. And at the end of the day, what really stuck for us was a pretty diversified online presence that was able to really make us competitive in our market. And then from there, build out like a commercial division or kind of get more into different caveats, not niches, but like, if you want to do like multifamily, you want to do storm chasing, it's a little different than like an online presence. So we've kind of diversified the marketing now at this point, and our sales approach within those markets. But I would say the big thing for us has always just been, like an online presence with a nice funnel and you're good to go. So.
Yeah. So that was the beginning, the online presence, Google ads, website, SEO. And of course I'm a little biased in this, but that's where people go in 2021, right?
But that's the reality. I mean, like, look, so I was like, you talk to a family member that's been doing this for 40 years and they go, I remember when John took out, a $30,000 a month ad in the Yellow Pages. Like, I don't even know if they offer that anymore,
Yeah, they don't. So, right. And I remember it's been a couple of years now, but I was talking to a roofing contractor outside of the DFW. And he was telling me he'd been in business for 30 years. And he was telling me how he was kind of in a smaller market outside of the DFW. And so he was telling me that he trained all of the competitors in his market used to work for him.
Yeah.
Right. They all used to work for him, and they were all kicking his butt at this time. And he was like, and it was because he didn't change. He didn't go where the people went, where the attention was, which was Google.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's but even now it's like you really have to be, I guess that's like the fun thing about business is you really have to, you can get stuck in your ways. People are like, oh, I've been in business for 40 years. I'm like, that's great. I'm going to support you, you know? So it's like, if you keep adapting and just overcoming, and it is, I mean, marketing might not be like a monthly thing, but it is a pretty dynamic, you know, even within Google, you got to kind of diversify the approach, you know? So
that's right.
You know,
things
staying
are
on top
changing
of that
all the time. Yeah. Now there's TikTok, right? Like there's another social media
Instagram, TikTok, you know,
right? It's like what, you know, it always changes, but one of the things that doesn't change is chasing the attention. The reason that Yellow Pages ad worked is because
everyone was in front of it. Yeah.
That's where the eyeballs were, right? So, you know, it's to simplify it, go where the eyeballs are, right?
But that's, you know, it's a good point, because I do talk to people all the time that are younger, older, you know, have really bigger businesses than our smaller businesses ours, and you know, people can get it. It really isn't that complicated. You know, it's just, it really isn't. It's you can make it complicated, and sure, it can get very you know, detail oriented at some level, but you just have to be in front of consumers, and it's not hard to figure out where. I mean, where do you shop? You know, that was like us. It's like, if I'm going to find a roofer, where am I going to go? Then like, I just need to be there. You know. Yeah, so it's really not that hard. I think a lot of people get really like caught up in it, and like it's like this big scary approach. And I just tell them, hey, call you guys to figure it out.
Yeah,
pay my $20 later.
So what have you tried along the way that you're like, this did not work out well? Like we're not doing that again, right?
So there's some of the biggest residential roofing companies in the country use like a canvassing team, right? So there's a lot to be said about canvassing. We've had a good experience with canvassing, but part of us is like, it's a lot of work to onboard a lot of canvassers all the time. And like, don't get me wrong, it's a great funnel. Like you can, you know, go from canvassing to sales, and it gives you like a funnel for like long-term employment within the company. But it was a whole caveat of the business that we just weren't interested in managing, you know? So like, that was one thing. Frankly, you know, you don't want to stretch yourself too thin. So like Everdoor direct mail, we're not a storm company. Everyone here knows how to deal with insurance, but if a hailstorm or windstorm comes in the area, we'll certainly do Everdoor direct mailers. But we just kind of double down on what works. Really now, a big thing for us is after looking at the numbers, you know, a lot of different avenues online bring in lead sources, but our number one lead source is previous customers or referrals from previous customers, which is fantastic because they also have the best closing ratio. So right now we're really doubling down on, hey, if that's our best customer, you know, if they're going around telling everyone in Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia to give us a call, we need to reward those people. We need to get in front of those people. We need to let them know, like, hey, we're referable, we're happy, and stay in contact with those guys, you know, or people.
Yeah. I believe there's a kind of a path in business. In the beginning, you have to do a lot of the marketing efforts and direct sales, canvassing, whatever you're doing, you have to do that to build that momentum and build that database, right? And then if you do good work for those people, this is a great point that you made. If you do great work for these people, they're going to refer you. And it's not just a referral one time, like, hey, it's this 5 years from now, they may refer you.
If they refer you to someone and that person refers you, it's just a compounding effect where that one referral becomes 50 customers, you know? So
that's right.
We really looked at it where if we spend, you know, $80 to $200 on per lead for qualified lead, it's like, well, if we could just give that money, if we have like, you know, if we're getting 50 referrals a month from previous customers, why don't we just give them each $500? You know, like that's not exactly what we're doing, but you know, double down on what's working, I guess. And I guess a lot of people too, now there's so many software CRMs to help kind of manage business, especially in the roofing industry.
That's right.
A lot more efficient now. So not utilizing that software to figure out like what's working for you, what's not, internally, externally, where the budget's going, not just in marketing, but you know, everything is just a real shame, because you can run a pretty efficient business now without having to have like a degree in mathematics, you know. So
yeah. Have you what have you started to build into your process you know, in that regard? Like, is there have you developed some training and some processes for your salespeople where they're looking to develop that relationship a little bit more, maybe ask for a referral multiple times? Are you doing anything on like long-term email marketing, anything like that you're doing to
Yeah, so I don't want to give away all my secrets now.
Well,
but,
but three or four.
So what we do is the approach that we take is we really take more of a consultative approach. So it really does start with there's, again, no bad way to go to market. It's just different. We're not like a hard sales company. We're going to kind of go out, do a needs assessment. There's usually a couple different ways to fix things, and we're going to kind of navigate that with the customer. So as far as like sales technique, we just ask our sales guys. We're pretty easygoing. It's you take care of our customer. It doesn't really matter from there. If you're taking care of them and they're happy, we're good, and they're going to be happy. And then from there, internally, part of the issue is, and I have a friend whose dad owns a marketing company, and he's always like, man, I'm trying to do this with the reviews, but the reviews aren't good. I'm like, well, you have to run a good business. Like if you're trying to market or anything but bad business, you're just, it's not going to work, So we have really good reviews, and that we don't pay for reviews. We don't give like a gift card for reviews. That's really genuinely people going out and saying, I've had a great experience with Brax Roofing. So that's the number one thing. You just have to get good service from start to finish, production, sales, finish up, and everything like that. And then we do have ongoing kind of email drip campaigns with customers just to kind of stay in mind, because someone might have bought a roof with us and they didn't do gutters. So we'll have like, a gutter special, or like if we're doing skylights, or just another service that we're able to offer them that they might, otherwise be shopping around, and they've already had a good experience with us. It's a done deal. So we do that. We send out kind of thank you packages afterwards. We do send out referral packages, kind of like a gift card. So if they give us a referral and it's unlimited, we'll ship them like a $75 gift card. And that's not for a closed referral. That's just, hey, if you like, I don't care if you get on Nextdoor and you refer us to 50 people, like I'll send you money all day,
Yeah.
And a lot of little things like that. A lot of it's automated. So, to make it easy for the team, you kind of push a button here, push a button there. And then salesmanship 101 is like, hey, if you have a job going on, go knock on some doors around, just introduce yourself, So yeah. I can take you to the water, but you got to drink. So.
That's the truth. And that's where I see a lot of contractors miss the boat, is that they focus so much on the one job that's in front of them, the one prospect that's in front of them, the one lead that they're working at that time. Mm-hmm. And it's like blinders to that specific thing. And they're missing this whole other opportunity around them. And just those couple of knocks on the doors, all of a sudden you have 2 deals instead of 1, right?
Yeah, there's like a saying, and I'm not sure it applies to everyone that you're describing, but like you want to own a business, not your job kind of thing.
Yeah.
And even on like the individual salespeople, like, look, a customer is going to call Brax Roofing because of the reviews, the marketing, whatever. They see us somewhere and they're going to call us and maybe 3 other companies, right? But they're not going to buy from us. They're going to buy from a salesperson. So in my seat, I want to own a business. I don't want to own my job, but for an individual salesperson, it's build your business, like if you're just worried about this one roof and we're giving you 50 leads a month, they're all qualified.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work. You could be so much more efficient and, come to us. Like we really encourage, like, hey, if you want to you get to a roof and there's hail damage, like we'll pay for the direct mail campaign, but like, you got to tell me about it. Like I'm not,
that's right.
I think, whether it be, the business as a big picture or like an individual salesperson, I would say like build your business. Don't like own your job, because it's going to just get tiring. You're going to get burned out, and you can be so much more efficient.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then I like what you said about the salesperson too, because they have a job too, and they have to own that at the same time, right? Yeah, so they have, you could choose to run your business many different ways. One way would be, hey, salespeople, you work for me, eat what you kill. I'm not helping you with anything. You go eat what you kill, right? Another way is that here's the food. I'm providing you with all the food. You eat, eat as much as you want, right? But at the same, I like that there has to be a balance there, right? Where a salesperson is working towards their sales goals, their revenue goals at the same time as the company is, right? So the company,
and it's a team effort,
It's a team effort. And that's one of the things that I've talked to a lot of contractors about is sometimes it's challenging to align the salesperson's goals with the company goals. Have you found that at all?
Yeah, and I think it goes both ways. I mean, I have, when you're in roofing,
Yeah.
everyone knows everybody, and and again, no bad people, but I've talked to so many people that will be like in the $5 million mark, and they can't get past it. And you start talking to them, they're like, "Whoa, I don't want to hire someone for accounting because I just don't want to trust them with it." What if they see the numbers? I'm like, okay, like, well, you should just stay at 5 million, or like, I don't like, there's like you got to delegate and find the right people to delegate. And then the same thing kind of goes with the sales guys. You have to really, you got to really be able to like trust that they're going to take care of it, and like everyone can just do what they need to do. So
yeah, trust people in their positions.
Yeah, 100%.
What do you do? How many salespeople are you guys running?
But in that caveat, I do find too, like we don't have a lot of turnover. I mean, it's just too much work to train people all the time, and it's for a lot of reasons. But it is interesting when you hire a salesperson. They'll be like, "Hey," and this isn't like a red flag per se, but hey, I want to keep my own phone because I'm like kind of 1 foot out the door. Like, what if I leave and I want to take the customer? I'm like, listen, we're going to give you a lot of customers. If that's like where you're at right now, like that's not the right mindset. Like,
yeah,
it's really more of like you should really like take care of all of them, plan on being here for a long time and building your Rolodex. Like, we're not trying to like steal from you. Like, if you leave, you move, we're going to pay you out. Like, it's just, really get into what you're doing and like give it 100%, whether that be an ownership position or a sales position.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the other part of it. What I heard come out of your mouth is you're running a good business, right? Some people are going to leave. They may leave on bad terms, but you're still going to write the checks for what the effort that they put in, for the time that they were there. You're going to do the right thing as a business owner.
All the way around the place. Yeah, we're not paying the bills because of your one roofing job that we robbed you for like a couple grand, So.
Exactly. So there's lots of layers, right? But one of the things, it's just do the right thing, right? Run a good business.
Good people, be good people.
Good people. What type of training do you do do you have like do you hire experienced roofing salespeople, or do you hire people that are more green?
Yeah, so we've done a little bit of both. When we first started, it was like, hey, we're going to hire green, train them the way we want them. And then we're like, hey, we're going to hire experience, so then we'll train the way we want them. At this point, we just onboarded a sales guy today, and it's just hire good people if they have experience and they can eventually become part of the team here. And, bad habits, good habits, that's fine. So I really am just at the point where like, if you can get a good person who's willing to like give it their all and do what they need to do, show up every day, be part of the team, and take care of customers. That's all I really care about, So I would say having experience in general helps us out a little bit as far as training, because it is a little bit much to train on the roofing, the sales, the team, the softwares, all the little things that get into it, right? So whether you have sales experience or roofing experience is definitely a plus. Having both is a perk. There's definitely some people that come from certain companies that I found are very hard. Like, they drink the Kool-Aid. Good for those companies, but it's hard to kind of get the Kool-Aid out and be like, listen, that's not necessarily the way you want to do this here,
Yeah.
So, I'm indifferent to it. I used to be different, but now I'm just kind of like, I don't care.
Yeah. So now, you're looking for good people, right?
Yeah.
Like instead of, wow, prejudging someone on, they were in the business, they're not going to do it the way we want to do it.
It's like saying, like, some companies, like, if you have a college degree, like, you can apply. It's like, that's like kind of ridiculous to me. Like, there's so many good people out there. You just think because some idiot spent $300,000 on a degree makes him better than the other guy. Yeah, I disagree, but okay.
That's right. Yeah.
In fact, I might say you want people without degrees, because that's nuts.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. A lot of the big tech companies are going that way. Like, I
think it's the way. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, like Google and Facebook and a lot of those big tech companies are going that way. They're going to you don't need a degree to work here. We'll train you. We'll create a college for you, and you could start here and end here. And I think that, in there, like you were saying, you mentioned earlier, the lower barrier to entry in this business. When you started off in the warehouse driving a forklift, then you learned another part of it, then you learned another part of it, and then you moved off into the contracting side.
Still learning, man. It's a daily thing,
Exactly. And then you learn a little more and you learn a little more. You don't need the college degree to and
you really don't. And I think, like, to your point with the tech companies, people say you can do whatever you want. I think the way my mind works, I'd probably be horrific at a tech company or like, programming or anything like that. So as long as you have the capacity mentally to do the job
That's right.
and the willingness, and if it's, who cares? You're black, you're white, you're Spanish, you're smart, you're not, you went to college. Like, as long as you can do the task and you're willing to do it and you come with a smile and you don't internally destroy you become like a cancer in the company, I'm cool. Like, just do your thing.
Yeah. If you're a good person, you're working towards the, in the same, with us to accomplish the, the goals and,
Fighting too much, man.
Yeah.
Been there. No one has time for it.
No one has time for it. It's challenging, right? And it's those people that become problems that it's funny. I've seen this a few times where one person becomes a problem in the company and the owner doesn't let them go because they're doing well in their position, but internally in the office, they're kind of causing some problems.
Yeah, for sure.
And then they finally say, I got to let this person go. And they do. And everyone else finally speaks up and goes, thank you for doing that. Right. Like,
it can be, I mean, look, I've definitely been there. That's, it's a thing. You have a guy and it's not just numbers, like $1 million sales guy, everything's well, but there's just like little things that just keep on happening, and it's like, it's got to change. And you're like, that was the right choice,
That's right. Yeah. That was it.
Probably the worst thing about having to let people go, but sometimes you just got to do it, so.
Yeah. It's Gary Vaynerchuk has a quote. It's hiring is guessing, firing is knowing.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
pretty good quote.
That's like that that's about it. So on your sales side, what do you guys, are you pretty balanced residential, commercial? Are you more one than the other now?
Yeah. So we want to become a little bit more balanced. Right now, I'd say we're like 60-40 residential.
Okay.
Maybe like 60-65. We like the residential. It's a great business. There's obviously roofs all around the place. People need help. We're here to help them. And we do everything from small roof repairs, full roof replacement. So it could be, $500 repair or a $500,000 roof. It doesn't really, doesn't really matter. But we definitely, see the potential, and we have, the other thing is, just after years of doing this, you have the structure, you have everything in place. So it's just kind of the next kind of procession is to grow out that commercial. When I say commercial, we're not really interested. We have and we can do like a 40-story building, but really the niche for us is like a garden style apartment, property manager. We do a lot of churches, schools, stuff like that. It's like a perfect thing for us.
I had another friend of mine, Daniel Latskins, on. He coaches companies on commercial roofing, and that's one of his things is, if he, especially going into commercial, find a niche, right? Find something that you can put some focus behind and really get known for. Is that how you guys are
getting
doing?
Known for it and know how to do it? Because the other thing is a lot of people, again, roofing, the barrier to entry is not high. It's not rocket science. But you have to know what you're doing at some level. You saw a $2 million roof or project and you messed up something, and the margins are tight, you're going to be in big trouble. So this is a marathon, not a race, and we're trying to be.
That's right. That's right.
You got to be careful.
When did you feel like your company was ready to add the commercial division?
Probably like 3 years in, we really started doing it, and it's like, hey, we could do it. I think a little bit was coming from even working for the suppliers. Obviously, you see like every roofing company out there, and there's this guy that does the commercial forever, and this guy does residential, and there's some that do both. I think part of it might have been that the two of us kind of like stereotyped ourselves, or we were comfortable with the residential,
Yeah.
And you certainly get a nice commercial job at a good margin, and you go, wow, there's a huge opportunity here. It didn't take any more, like, we don't have to scale anything. We don't have to buy more trucks. We don't have to do anything. We could just bring in, exponentially more money a month and make exponentially more. But it got to the point where the more we did, the more comfortable we got and then we finally went out and said, hey, we should just get a commercial estimator, and there's a way that we can go to market to really specialize in doing this. Because the other issue is using the sales team that we have. They're great. I mean, our sales guys sell $400,000 roofs. The one issue though is when you take like a quote unquote like residential guy, and all of a sudden he's selling commercial work, and they don't really have the follow up, and it's sold differently, and the margins are everything. It's a different business,
Different. Yeah.
So we kind of went to market with that differently, with a different approach. Literally a different business. I mean, it's a different sales team, it's a different CRM, it's a different cruise that we focus on it, and we take a different approach to it. And that was probably like 2 years ago that we really knew it. And like probably this year is the year that we really said, hey, let's like hunker down and start throwing quotes out there, so.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like the big jobs and the big dollars, they attract, right? They're very attractive. When I talk to residential contractors that are moving into commercial, a lot of times they'll want to jump towards commercial and kind of leave the residential behind.
I almost think that's a mistake, but you tell me.
And then that's how I feel too. I'm like, there's a lot of nice cash flow on that residential side that's going to help you a lot when you have that big project on the commercial side, right?
Yeah, everything. I mean, there's certainly companies nationwide that do just
for
commercial
sure.
or residential, and then there's a lot to both. I think for us, it's just like you said, one, it's cash flow. I mean, it's definitely beneficial to have jobs coming in every day.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of pros and cons, but we wanted to definitely have like a hybrid approach. Just, I think it's also very easy to say, well, we're a roofing company, whether you've been in business for 6 months or 6 years or 60 years. And, it's a roofing crew. We should go out. It's sexy and romantic. It's like, yeah, look, it is cool to tell your friends you're doing X amount a year.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really mean anything unless I'm making money. And I don't need to like tell people how much. I always wish people would say, oh, I netted this much this year instead of like I sold this much.
Exactly.
Like, you can sell 60 million and lose 200 grand, it's like, so yeah, I just think it can get like really, the romance can wear off when the reality hits in, but it can certainly be an exciting ball game too, if you do it right.
Yeah, if you do it right. And that's the other part of it. So we kind of talked a little bit about marketing on the marketing that you mentioned earlier. That's residential, right? So are you, what, I see commercial as being such more of a relationship-based business, and you definitely need a different type of salesperson for that, right? They're not running leads every day.
Personally, for me, the residential is fun, but I don't really, when you have a sales team, and not in a negative way, but I don't really have any interaction with our customers for the most part.
That's right.
Unless something is wrong.
Yeah.
So the nice thing from my standpoint, and I think for Boris's as well, is the exciting thing for the commercial is it's just a little bit of a different business. It's a little bit more of us involved. It's a little bit more of a relationship business. And it's more of like a business, where the residential is certainly, it's a business interaction. It's just bigger numbers, commercial banking. It's a different approach. It kind of helps stimulate it a little bit after doing this for a while. It's fun. It is fun to kind of switch it up a little bit.
Definitely. What do you think, like, the main difference, if you could say a residential salesperson has these key like traits, and a good commercial salesperson has these key traits?
I think they're two different species, really.
I know,
well, they're two. Really. It's two, but the two things are completely like the two. It's like saying, hey, I want to get like a Ferrari because I want to go fast against a truck, but I'm a monster truck guy. It's like, it's just two different things.
It's two different things. And I completely agree. So that residential salesperson, a lot of times I think that they're good at that. They like that person likes that fast, the speed of those.
Yeah. Sales. I mean, look, as like a sales coach would probably tell you, like, you get a Jim Johnson on here or something, or I don't even know if he's a sales coach, business coach, but there's certain attributes that a sales coach would tell you, like, get within this person. I'm all about that. We don't follow that approach, but I think, there's just like follow up, attention to detail. You need to be able to be a little bit more of a, like an extrovert, like ask for things, feel uncomfortable or feel comfortable being uncomfortable. Whereas those attributes would definitely be beneficial in a commercial role. I think it's just more of like, that guy that everyone likes at the party that's like socially kind of like just commanding the room is probably who you want commanding your $2 million customers and your $10 million customers and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah. I like that. That's interesting that you say that. My brother-in-law works for a very large it's a device manufacturing company. He's always been in in large commercial sales, right? Digital, mainly in technology. Okay. And that's him. Like he's the personality. He's the guy that you want to go to dinner with, go to the bar with, or go to a game.
Yeah,
with,
100%.
right? Like,
Like you want to do something, call that guy. Like
that's
he's gonna
right.
be
Yeah. Like that, and that's his personality, and that's where he thrives in those larger commercial, long-term relationships. Right. These are long-term relationships. Not that you don't want the referrals like we talked about from your homeowners, but it's not the same long-term relationship. You're not going to dinner with them 6 months later a lot of times, right? You're not
right.
you're not taking them golfing. You're not, there's a lot more to that.
Very rarely, yeah. No, I had a manager when I was working supply, and I'm not going to drop any names because he's got a really cool position now, but he is just really hardworking guy, smart guy, and he's probably going to run one of these huge distribution very soon here. But he's always like, Ben, you want to be the guy that like if your car breaks down or you run out of gas, like you want that guy to call you. Like you just be that guy, even if you're not, just like be the go-to, fix your problem, even if it has nothing to do with who you are, so.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of stuff like that, but it was, you definitely just want that guy in the commercial where it's like, we'll solve your problem, doesn't matter what it is. We're not an HVAC company, but we know someone. Give me a call.
That's
first,
right. Yeah. So much more of that's interesting. Being a problem solver.
Yeah, just solve the issues, make your life easier. And that's the same with the residential. But when we meet like a property manager, it's like, look, we're not trying to blow smoke, but really part of our job is to make you look good to your boss and your job easy.
That's right.
And and then you're going to call us back, because if it's a nightmare working for us, you're going to call the next guy, so
that's right.
Just make it as easy as possible.
Cool. So, you guys have built a lot of great reviews online. And I know, that to me changes the conversation with the phone calls that are coming in. What have you put in place in your business to develop those reviews? Do you have a specific system that you're having your salespeople ask at certain times, or are you just that good that people just say, you know what, Ben, we're going to leave you a review?
Yeah. So frankly, at first it really was like, people we knew very, very early on though, that, what people are going to see is going to be a website, but the reviews speak like very loud, and you can see the 5 stars. And if it's us, if there's a guy with 5-star reviews and then us with 300 5-star reviews, we're obviously going to get a call there,
Yeah.
We're really big on automation. So although the team is very capable of doing everything we do here, if we can take something off their plate and make it easy, it's going to be more streamlined. They can work on something else. And frankly, even if they're not working on something else, they don't need to do those things if we can get some software to do it,
Yeah.
So we do now, for the last couple of years, we've utilized, and we've gone through a couple of different platforms, kind of like a lead, reputation management software.
Reputation management stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And we do utilize that. And then, things like for roofing, like Guild Quality.
Yeah.
We don't use, it's funny because we really don't use Guild Quality so much. I don't think most consumers really know what Guild Quality is. Like Guild Quality will sell you on like, hey, people don't know who you are, guys. Yeah. But it does help us, at least at first, it really helped us like pinpoint like strong suits, because you can customize the surveys on Guild Quality. So we would send out like, I think at first it was like a 25 question survey, which is pretty aggressive. And Guild Quality, for anyone that doesn't know, is pretty relentless at like email, follow-up, phone call to make sure you fill out this survey, And so we really were able to see like, all right, they said, 5 out of 5 for salesmanship, 5 out of 5 production, and then like 3 out of 4 for follow-up, and then 3 out of 4 for follow-up. Mm-hmm. So we're like, all right, we were able to really critique the business to make sure that we always thought we were the best, but we wanted to really give the value, And again, there's a lot of good roofers out there. I'm not saying we're the best, but we're definitely the best. And they just, we were able to go in there and fix the problems. And we still do that now. I mean, we go out and luckily they're all, for the most part, really good feedback. And then just reputation software, to make sure that good reviews are getting on. If there's a problem, we fix it before it becomes a bigger problem and everything like that.
Yeah. And that's, really, it's a lot of times it's just asking, right? But sometimes you have to ask a lot. You'll have to ask over and over again. I like with the Guild Quality, using the surveys to kind of see what's going on, how people are perceiving your business on a day-to-day basis, or as the jobs go on, and making the adjustments that you see come in, right? Don't be hard-headed and say, we communicated with them. I sent them 6 text messages and 4 phone calls.
There's so many people that just take it like, I have a buddy who owns a power washing company, and he takes it like personally, like, I can't believe. I'm like, look, this isn't like a belief or your thoughts or your feelings. Like, your customers are telling you crap. Like, you have to fix the problem, or you're not going to have any customers.
Or you
So,
won't have customers. Yeah.
yeah, and if you go too far down that road, it's like, what's the point of spending money on trucks and marketing and wraps and buying? It's like, it's all worthless. Like, if no one wants to work with you, what's the point? You go do something else or go work for somebody else, So
It's true. And I think a lot of business owners, and I remember doing this. I had businesses in my 20s, so 20 years ago, where I thought that I knew what should be done, right? And so I brought a business to market, and I was wrong. And
yeah,
and that's
the nice thing about roofing. Like,
yeah,
people always say entrepreneurs. Like, I get it. You start a business, you're an entrepreneur. My idea of like a real entrepreneur is like you're changing the hamster wheel. Like, I just made a new hamster.
Yeah,
Like, this has been done. Like, I know people need this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a difference for sure. And that's the thing that in this business, and part of the reason why we do this podcast is that success leaves clues, right? That like this isn't, roofing, as much as we, people will try to say that their business is not a commodity. It is a commodity, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of companies out there that can go to ABC Supply and Beacon, or pick up some shingles and put them up. You know what I mean?
You have a minivan, go to Home Depot and get a ladder. You're a roofer, man. You
don't
even need a license. You can just keep going forever.
In a lot of markets, you don't even need a license. Yeah. So, it is that, like you were saying, that barrier to entry. But to get past the $1 million mark, I think there is a barrier to that. Then the $2 million.
If you want to play the game, like if you really want to play the game,
that's right.
You gotta,
and when you get to the 8-figure mark, you are a commodity, but there's a different piece to the business, right? And that's your brand.
You're running a business.
You're running a business. You're not self-employed. As Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book called The Cash Flow Quadrant, and employee, self-employed.
I don't like that guy. I don't know why.
Yeah, I read his books back in the early 2000s before he got to see people on TV all the time and on social media all the time. But I thought that was an interesting thing, right? Are you an employee? Are you self-employed? Are you a business owner? Or are you?
Well, that comes back to don't own your job. It's like you want to own your business. Yep. But one thing you said that I think is hugely important, and I'm definitely guilty of not doing this now, but if you're I don't know who watches these people that are starting a business, own a business, or maybe who knows, but you have to read, because you said you can learn instead of making mistakes and learning from your mistakes. There's so much content on books, Google, podcasts, get on this or something, that if you don't learn from other people's mistakes, you're just setting yourself up like years behind. I mean, you have to read. Like, if you just read, there's so many books, so much good content that you can learn from other people's mistakes and just jumpstart with. Like, for marketing, for us, I don't have a background in marketing.
Yeah.
I just read until my eyes were bleeding, and I was like, this isn't that hard. Like, this guy did it this way, it didn't work. This guy did it that way, it did work. Let's do it that way. And then it just like works. It's just there. So you got to read.
What 2-3 books have you read that are like, man, these are?
I've done a couple of these, and everyone always asks me, what are your favorite business books? And on the way here from lunch, I was like, he's going to ask me. And I was like,
it's the only question that I've never asked on this podcast. It's the only.
Well, it's a good question, because there are some really good books. And the one book, it's not really necessarily a business book, but I think you could almost say it's like the foundation of any kind of business, is How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
The book is like 300 pages, and I think it's all good. But the first 100 pages is like, I think they just need to just sell page count or something. But if you just read the first 100, 150 pages of that book, it's going to help you in life, in interactions, your relationship, your customers, your employees. I mean, that's like, just being able to talk to people and understand and communicate effectively is just the core of everything. So I'd say that is absolutely what I would suggest reading, bar none, anything else. But that being said, I got a whole bookshelf full of good books, so I'll send you some text later.
There you go. We'll share them. I don't have a bookshelf. I have an Audible library. I'm a book listener, not a book reader, but my Audible library is like,
just get it in there,
exactly. Like, and my business partner, Brian, makes fun of me. He's like, how do you, because I listen to everything on 1.5 speed. And I'm like, and he's like, how do you why you listen to so many of these, but it's
really like, why aren't you listening to this?
Exactly. Like, no, and then I'll throw him some and he'll tell me about some. So we're both on the same page there.
And there's some books too, like, there's a guy, he's like a finance guy. He's like the, pay off your debts dude. I forget what his name is.
Dave Ramsey or one of those guys?
Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
I think his philosophy, it's not my thing. I think people read it and they're like, we got to pay our house. And I'm like, there's probably better approaches, but that's whatever. But he'll like write a book and I might read 300 pages and there's like 10 pages where I like highlight the whole thing and I give it to someone here. I'm like, read this, And,
right.
you gotta take it all with a grain of salt, but just because his views aren't really my approach, it's so good to know his views, because I've had employees, for example, that read that and like, I'm going to do this. I'm like, I'm not saying don't do that, but read this book too, and then figure out which direction you want to go,
As you mentioned, kind of starting off, there's not one way to build your roofing company, right? There's not one way to do a lot of things, right? There's a lot of different approaches that could work, and it might be just a piece to your puzzle versus a piece to the puzzle, right?
That's right. I mean, we're all just playing a game, like how are you going to play it? Where are you going to move the pieces? Why are you moving them there? You got kids, I don't, I might do something differently. So it's just how are you going to navigate?
Exactly. So what do you think the greatest insight is that you can share with our audience that has helped you find success in your roofing business?
You got to marry the right woman. So you have to have a really good wife, because if you don't have a good relationship at home, you're screwed from the get-go. And sorry. And two, I mean, look, I got a great business partner, but it's relationships. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it, pros and cons. You have a business partner. It's like the relationships around you are going to hopefully build you up and just be like really like strong adds to the whole experience in a positive way, whether it be home, business, marketing, the vendors you work with. We don't work with some vendors, we work with others. So, it might not sound like a big deal, but if you don't have good people internally, externally around you, like you're, cut the loose strings, because you just don't need those people.
For sure. Awesome, Ben. Thanks for your time. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more sales through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com and get a copy of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors: How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thanks for listening.